All right, everybody, I am back for part 2 of Dawn and Justin's Rancor Tooth Saber. This saber is also considered a scrap flex or scrap tech type of genre for this saber because it does have like a Graflex clamp on it from the Graflex shop. And we weathered it up and beat everything up really good and everything to make this look like it's been through quite a few battles, which I love about it. But before we get started, I want to tell kind of a cool story about Justin. I've known Justin a long time. Back in about 2005, 2006, I decided I was going to start doing eBay full time and dealing in Star Wars props specifically. So I quit my graphic design job, and I was one of those guys that was running all over the city going to Borders because in 2005, I believe, they had a Master Replicas. It was the Luke Return of the Jedi green Master Replicas lightsaber that you could only get from them for that Christmas. And so, yes, I was the guy that was driving all over town and buying them all up, and I ended up with like 50 of them in my Star Wars room ready to sell. And my plan was I was going to sell them to people internationally all over the world that couldn't, get them in the United States. And so that was my plan. Well, Justin hadn't seen one of these new kind of generation Master Replicas lightsabers with the light up blade, and it made the sounds. And so he came over to my house and was hanging out in the Star Wars room and looking all over the room. And there must have been 50, 60, who knows, 70 different lightsabers in there. And then all these border exclusive Lukes that I was going to sell globally. And so he ignites one, and he's standing there looking at me, and he's like, "You know what you are, dude? You're a freaking Jedi arms dealer." And so that's how it started. Jedi arms dealer was born. So I guess in that moment I felt like I was knighted by Jedi Justin or something. It was pretty cool. So that name is stuck. And so here I am in 2020 still doing it. And it's a lot of fun. What can I say? It never gets old, these things. All right, so let's dive into some of the deeper level stuff on this saber. And we're going to go over Bluetooth functionality and some of the cooler things this thing does when it's charging up. So the reason I showed you how to kind of manipulate the speaker pod with the chassis out was I wanted you to kind of see and get used to the 2-pin speaker system that plugs into the back of the chassis, and then like the 3 posts that come in, and just so you can see how all that aligns up. What I've been doing after I got comfortable with this new kind of plug-in pin system is you don't necessarily have to, once you get comfortable with all this, you don't necessarily have to take the chassis out of the hilt every time. So if I unscrew the pommel and we get to where we can see the speaker pod again, what you can do is, let's say you've got it up on display and of course the power is shut off. And so you would unscrew the pommel, then you would get in here and you would turn on the power like this, okay? And then again with the switch on top and this threaded post on the bottom, you can then from there kind of orient the speaker pod like this and then ignite the saber, and then ever so carefully line up this bottom hole with the threaded post and kind of just gently wiggle it in there until you hear the speaker pins make connection. Let's see. Hopefully I got it lined up. There we go. So you hear them start to make connection. Right, like that. And then you can give this a pretty firm push on the back to seat it into place. And there you don't have to remove the chassis, but I wanted you to get comfortable with this system because you don't want to bend the pins. The pins are pretty tough. They're pretty strong, but you don't want to bend them. So then you would just take your pommel, screw it into place. Again, you might hear the audio cut out every once in a while. And as long as this goes in nice and smooth, you don't get any resistance all the way in. Once it gets to here, you'll hear the speaker come back on again. And then that's it. It's seated. It's not going anywhere. So, let's see. One of the other things I wanted to show you while I had it. Shut it down. One of the other things I wanted to show you while I still, had it all put together was the blade charging function. This is pretty cool. So let me grab the blade real quick. And let's drop the blade in. And then tighten your retention screw. We'll just do it lightly this time because we're not swinging it around or anything. We're just showing you a function of the blade. And then we are going to, instead of going forward on the font list, we're going to go the other direction. So we're going to hit and hold every time. And it's going to go from about font 5 back to 1. So that's closer to 1.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So that's going to be font number 2. You have 2 back-to-back alien fonts, or aliens font. Font number 1 is an alien theme font, and then font number 2 is Aliens, the next movie. Some of the sound fonts on here, it's almost going to seem like they're doubles, but they're not. They're variations of one another. Some of them play like the theme music behind the lightsaber hum, little variations like that. So one more time.
This thing bled acid. Who knows what it's going to do when it's dead?
Okay, so now you're on font 1. That's how you know. So if I hit it again, it's going to go all the way to font number 91, which shows your charge, your blade charge. Here we go. So when it gets to City, it's saying unlimited power, which is kind of a joke amongst like Saber builders because ever since NeoPixel strips have come out, they use a ton of power. So the batteries actually don't last that long. You'll be lucky if you get maybe like an hour out of this battery before you have to recharge it again. Previously, when we were using Mhs Hilt, like flashlight type LEDs, you could get a few hours out of a charge. But because NeoPixel strips are so bright, and there's tons of colors and tons of pixels in the blade, it'll suck battery dry pretty quickly. So this function right here is just this. It's basically showing you on the blade length what the strength of your battery is right now. Right now we're at about 3/4 power. You'll notice once it starts to, if it's fully charged and it's at the tip, it'll be green. And then as you use it, it'll start to go down. But you can visit this font to see what the status of your battery is. As it gets lower down the blade, in like the middle and below, it'll start changing to yellow. When it gets to this point, you'll hear a message come onto the speaker and it'll say low battery. Oh, and it'll start repeating it over and over again. At that point, it's a good idea to go ahead and shut it off, plug it into the charger, put it on display, and wait for it to charge up again. Because you don't want to take your battery voltage too low. Your battery will last longer if it stays healthy. And also, it'll start kind of messing up once it gets below that halfway mark. If you let it say low battery, more than about 10 times, you're going to notice the Saber's going to start doing weird things. The speaker isn't going to sound as clear. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. So there, that shows off the battery power. Let's go ahead and take the blade out. And all right, so let's get the chassis out of here and go over that. I can't think of anything else to go over on as far as having the hilt assembled. So we'll go over the chassis and then I'll go over the hilt last. So let's go ahead and take off our pommel cap. Pull the speaker pod out. We're going to shut the power off because we're going to put a thumb or finger in the front of this and push the chassis out. Yep. Okay. So this was printed on an Ender 5 Pro at a layer height of 1.5 millimeters. Actually, it's 0.15 millimeters. And so I used metallic PLA filaments because I wanted this to look as metallic as I could get it. And I'm pretty impressed with some of the newer generation filaments that have come out in the last few years. You've got like a shiny copper, you got like a gunmetal, a different shade of gunmetal, and then, almost like silver or aluminum type of thing. So these PLA filaments, really impress me. This is an actual stainless steel heat sink from a vape that I've like imported different vape parts to use in these chassis parts because it's a lot of fun. But we'll go ahead and start with the emitter. We'll go ahead and turn it on. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and put the speaker pod on so that we know what font we're on. So again, line it up, plug it in. And you can give it a pretty good push once you've got the pins seated properly and everything. Just kind of seat it into place like that. And then we'll go through a font that actually shows some activity on the crystal chamber. Now, I believe there's 4 fonts out of the 91 that don't do anything on the crystal chamber. There's the one I just showed you. There is Crystalline Workshop, which is kind of like you're working on your saber type of thing and fixing it. That light's going to be out. And there's actually 2 of those. There's another one, another font called Calibrate. And so those 2 fonts, and then there's like a 1970s style font that I created called Saber Train, which is Luke on the Millennium Falcon, training with the remote. That also does not have any crystal illumination when the blade's off. The clue that you can play music without this draining your battery, you can play the music tracks that are attached to those 4 fonts where this is dark. Your clue is that this will be out. This won't be illuminated. And so let's go ahead and go to, well, for instance, let's go forward.
Crystalline Workshop.
And there we're on Crystalline Workshop. And so to play the music, you would tap, like before, you would tap and hold, you hold the aux button, and then you would tap the chassis at this point. So it would be like. So what this is the entire original trilogy soundtrack from episode 4 through episode 6. Okay? Let's go to the previous one. This is Calibrate. So same thing, it has a different music track attached to it, but notice the crystal's still out. And so this will play your Crafty Cut Star Wars mix.
A long time ago in the galaxy far,
Okay?
there came a time of
All right. And so then let's go back to font 1.
Crystalline Workshop.
Your blade metering.
This thing bled acid. Who knows what it's gonna do when it's dead?
Okay, so the majority of your fonts, like 88 of them or so, all have the crystal chamber illuminated when you go to the font. And the way I program this is that the crystal will light up, usually, 9 out of 10 times, it'll light up in the same color that your blade's going to ignite to. But I'm hoping we can get in here and see this crystal. Let me see if I can get up super close, if it will actually adjust. But it is a copper wire-wrapped crystal. You're not going to be able to see it. There's just no way to get it to focus that close. But it's like shiny copper wire. So it's very organic looking because it almost has like roots or like tree branches type of thing kind of wrapping around the crystal. Maybe you've seen some of this style before. But I thought it was pretty appropriate to do like, an organic style hilt. So we'll fire it up. And so in each font, I've programmed different effects on the accent lighting. You have a 5-pixel accent light here that'll do everything from rotational effects to, Cylon effects back and forth, or Knight Rider, and then some of them just, kind of illuminate. So there's 3 channels on this saber. Channel 1 controls the blade, as far as the programming goes on the Profi board. Channel 2 controls the lighting that happens inside the crystal chamber, and this also uses another one of Space Window Industries' 5-pixel blade plug arrays, and so you'll actually get rotational effects and all kinds of crazy stuff, going on in the crystal chamber. So we have channel 1, channel 2 crystal chamber, channel 3 accents. And so one of the other things that I love about this is in the dark, these wires will actually light up. These are super thick 22 gauge OFC speaker wire, oxygen free, really good quality wire with copper cores in them. And so I loved how this looked really kind of, organic, and used these. And what's nice is that the light that lights up in here, it actually crawls up the inside of the insulation on these. So that's a pretty cool effect in complete darkness. But another thing I wanted to show you is when you have this on display, we'll move the hilt back in the background here. And then we'll move the chassis kind of over here. And another thing I wanted to show you is go ahead and download the Force Sync app. It's spelled FORCESINC. And so you're gonna, of course, download that for free from the App Store. This is Dmitry Shtuk's creation out of Russia. He's been doing some amazing stuff for lightsabers, and this is one of his contributions. They are going to come out with a paid version that'll do even more stuff, but I'm going to show you the free version, and this has what they call a Bluetooth Fizzy chip on the inside of it that will communicate with an iPad, an iPhone, and automatically you can control the Saber remote control. So let's move this. Let's see if I can get all this in picture here, because I want to show you how to program this. Oh, awesome. You can see my fingerprints. Let's see, maybe I'll just tilt the camera up a little bit. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead, and right now what it's doing is it's searching for any Bluetooth available devices on the Fizzy side. So it's looking for the chip, and right there it's found it. And when you do this, Justin or Dawn, for the very first time, it may ask you for a code to sync up with the iPhone or the iPad. And that code's usually going to be 000. If not, it may be 1, 2, 3, 4, just depending. But 4 zeros has always worked for me. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this. It's going to go into the selection of all the soundboards that this app is compatible with, and you're going to scroll over to Profi. Click on Profi, and then this gives you all of your controls up top. It actually is going to tell you how much your battery life is left. You're at 3.8 volts at 85% strength. Here's your remote control functions. And so this controls your volume right now. That's kind of the sweet spot, 2925. It will, the max is 3000. If you go that high, you'll notice the speaker on someone like the louder, bassier fonts will start to distort. So I have it in the sweet zone. So the other thing you can do is you can advance to the next track or to the next sound font. So you go like this, and it would take you to the next one. Whoops, hold on. Looks like our speaker might have disconnected a little bit from moving it around. Okay, so here we go. Next sound font. Yep. Let's go to the next one. And another one. Okay, so to ignite the Saber, and let's see if I can get all the chassis in here so you can see all the effects. So you can control all of this right here from the iPad. Let me rotate it up so that you can see the effects on the third channel accents as well. Okay, so shut down. And this has like rotational effects, turbine effects programmed into the accents. So then we'll activate it again. And they'll all be different for each font. They'll just do different things. So we have Clash, Blaster, your Force sounds, Lock Up. There's your Lock Up function, Tip Drag. This resets the board if you have any like weird glitches or something. Very rarely that will happen, and you can reset the board from the app. No big deal. And then this will play the music on any track that you're on. So this is going to be kind of cool because you can have the chassis out on display, and your friends walk up the display to check it out. You pull out your phone discreetly, and you can fire it up right in front of them. They're going to be like, "How the heck did you do that?" Of course, with the Force, right? So shut down. And there, that covers the Bluetooth app. Let's go back. And then we're gonna go to show presets. And this is a cool feature that Dimitri's updated recently, where you say list presets. And right here is all of the names of all of your fonts inside. Anything that's got a JAD for Jedi Arms Dealer is a font I created. So there's a few of those in there, quite a few. And so, yeah, you can scroll all the way through all your fonts, all 91 of them, and then you get to the bottom. And here is your charging one at the very end. Here's your crystalline workshop, which is like, you know, fixing your your saber type of thing. And so this, you can just pretty much look at them. You can't load them from here. I think maybe Dimitri might do that in the update. We'll see. But for now, you can just view the names of them so that you know what these fonts are called, which is kind of nice. All right, so let's put the Bluetooth away. Move this out of the way. And then we went over the chassis. So let's go ahead and go over the hilt. Move this around, put it in the background. All right, we'll start at the emitter again. So let me flick on some lights so we can see a little more. There we go. So yeah, basically I was locked up in the bedroom for 7 to 10 days with the 3D printer and the micro mill. And when the Saber, when I found this Saber, it was definitely meant to be, because what had happened was I had printed the 3D printed chassis and didn't know what I was going to do with it yet. But I was really impressed with this design after I printed it out. I was like, this is pretty cool. I can turn this into something for sure. And then I started getting curious about how to print a Rancor tooth. That was my next step. And so I actually found files online for a saber-toothed tiger and printed this in what they call double-walled vase mode. And it prints things hollow when you do that. And so that's how this came to be, and then filled it up with epoxy and made it super strong. And then actually weathered it with coffee, because that's the only thing I had available to me, at the time, is to make it look aged and dirty with coffee, which is some of the weathering techniques that, some weathering experts use. And then, lo and behold, right before I went into quarantine, a couple weeks before I went into quarantine, I found this Saber hilt on eBay for a reasonable price, and I was like, that's it. It's going to happen. It's all going to come together, and I'm going to be able to make this Rancor tooth saber, for Justin and Dawn. So here we are. Let me go ahead and get this out of here, and let's use the decorative one, because that's my favorite one. There we go. So I took this whole hilt apart and, was looking it over and seeing what kind of modifications I could do to it. This is what they call an Mhs Hilt. It comes from a company called TCSS, the Custom Saber Shop, and Mhs stands for Modular Hilt System. And so they build these pieces. I don't think the shroud was included, or from TCSS. This is something that I think the person that owned this Saber before you had made this just out of like some piping or something. But this emitter with the big 4 windows comes from TCSS like this. And then this is just a standard grip section. He had already wrapped it with leather, but there was no cover tech and no clamp card. So it was just bare. I think he had drilled a couple of holes in here, which I opened up for sound. So sound actually comes out from underneath the clamp card. And this hilt has really good sound resonance from top to bottom. And then I actually went in, it came with this pommel. I opened up the holes because these were super tiny from TCSS. I opened up the holes, and then I put this on my mill, and I milled out these slots so that you get sound coming out 360 degrees every direction here, out the bottom, and then out from underneath the clamp up here. Then I added the Tactile Switch, which was a design of my own I've been trying to come up with for years, to where I can have spring-loaded buttons built in on any hilt and be able to remove any chassis using this method right here. So this worked out super sweet. This was something I didn't expect, and was like really happy with the outcome on this, because this is just maintenance free. Normally I would do like a post with a magnet on it, and 2 magnets would touch each other on the switches, and to pull the chassis out, you'd have to pull the post out with the magnet on it, not lose it, and then pull the chassis out. This eliminates that whole past issue, of losing the parts that can be separated. It's just always there. And now I can do this technique, anywhere on the hilt. It was a little more challenging because it already came with a leather wrap on it, and I didn't want to drill through the leather wrap any more than I had to. So that's why this, to me, was kind of the obvious solution. This right here is a custom copper clamp card that I made. I actually used a piece of 1.5 inch copper tubing, and then put it on the mill and cut out like a triangular shape, and then went in and angled this up so that I could get these angles here, an angle up here, and then I milled these slots, you know, cut through a couple of them, and then, you know, milled these slots in as well. And this will age like an old penny. So like the grooves will stay nice and shiny because your finger oils don't get on them. But then like this part of it you can see is already, you know, starting to tarnish, which I think is gonna look pretty sweet. So we beat the whole thing up, of course, the Graflex clamp, and put some nice dents on it, some weathering, same up here. And then I put this emitter on the micro mill and actually cut out these 3 slots and this hole. And then I had some hardware, stainless steel hardware that went in the hole to kind of dress it up. And then I did these 3 slots on the micro mill as well. This right here is a part from my micro mill that I've never used in the whole time that I've had it. And so I thought, you know what, that is a very cool looking set of bunny ears if I bolt that on the top of this. So I found these 2 old rusty bolts in my stuff, my massive collection of just crazy parts everywhere, and drilled and tapped these in through the top of the shroud and the emitter, and so they hold this on rock solid. I believe this is steel. I haven't put a magnet on it, but I'm pretty sure, you know, that it's steel. So that pretty much covers everything on the hilt. And let me show you some more of the effects on the chassis. We'll go to the next font.
The Force will be with you. Always.
So you'll notice that on the accent LEDs, they just do different things. So there, you've got your Knight Rider or Cylon lights that go back and forth. They're programmed for all different colors per font. We'll go to another one. Oh, I muted it. I accidentally muted it. There we go. So this is just like white. And then again, this is a stainless steel vape part that I milled out on my mill to kind of cover up the threaded rod through there. And it's nice, some nice lighting effects. And you can see the wires in there. So try to get a little technical with it. But I think that pretty much does it on the chassis and the hilt. And then one of the last things I realized I'm also sending you, because the Mandalorian is just freaking amazing right now. I sent you a kyber crystal that you can put inside either one of your blade plugs because the bottoms pop off. So there's that. And then I'm also sending you glow-in-the-dark galaxy. This is a galaxy marble. And so when you know, expose this to light for a while, it'll kind of glow on the inside. This also fits inside either blade plug and will glow after you shut it off. And then, of course, you have to have a crate dragon pearl. This is quartz. And so you can put that in there as well. All right, guys. I think that pretty much covers everything. If I think of anything, again, I'll go in and do a quick edit type of thing. And so everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. Justin and Don, hope you enjoy the lightsaber for many, many years. You always have a lifetime guarantee with me. So you guys let me know if you got any questions or any issues, and we'll hook it up. All right, guys, take care, have fun, and may the Force be with you and everyone over the holidays.